Why did your brain invent God? The secret history of our mind. Hey, how are you? Get ready, because we're going on an amazing journey. Today we're not going to talk about whether God exists or not. That's another conversation. Today we're going to explore a much more intimate and, for me, more fascinating question. Why, as a species, do we have this almost universal need to believe in higher beings? We're going to descend together through 5 levels of knowledge, as if we were going down into the depths of a hidden pyramid. And I promise you something, when we reach the bottom, the way you see history, society, and even your own brain will have changed forever. Ready for the descent? Okay, let's start with level 1, the surface, what everyone knows. The first and most obvious reason we invented gods is to explain the world. Imagine you're a human from 50,000 years ago. You have no idea about meteorology or astronomy. Suddenly a lightning bolt splits a tree in 2. What is that? It's not static electricity, it's the wrath of a thunder god. Why does the sun rise every day? Because a god drags it in his chariot across the sky. Gods were our first encyclopedia, our first science. The second big idea at this level is that gods gave us rules. Living in a group is complicated. How do you ensure people don't steal, don't kill, and cooperate? By creating a cosmic rulebook. Think of the 10 Commandments or any religious moral code. The idea of a celestial big brother who sees everything and will reward or punish you, even after death, is the perfect surveillance system to keep a society's worst impulses in check. And this leads us to the third pillar, the idea of a life after death. Where does this come from? Probably from something very human, dreams. Imagine your friend dies on a hunt. You're devastated, but that night you dream of him. He talks to you, laughs, seems so real. Your brain, which doesn't understand the difference between that dream and reality, reaches a logical conclusion. He's not entirely gone. His spirit must be somewhere else. Thus was born the idea of a spirit world, the germ of all heavens and hells. And finally, at this superficial level, there is comfort. Life is hard, often unfair, and always ends in death. The belief in a divine plan, in a God who watches over you, and in a paradise waiting for you, is like an incredibly powerful balm against anxiety and existential fear. It's an anchor in the storm of chaos. But have you ever stopped to think why this psychological placebo is so effective and universal in almost all cultures throughout history? So there you have it, level 1. Gods as explanation, as lawmakers, as a promise of a future life, and as a source of comfort. This is the tip of the iceberg, the version you'd be told in a basic history class. It's true, but it's far from the whole truth. But if this is what we see on the surface, what secret engines move it underneath? It's time to dive in. Welcome to level 2. This is where the magic begins. Remember we said that gods explain the world like a lightning bolt? The first revelation is that our brain is programmed for this. We have something scientists call an agent detection device hyperactive. It's a complicated name for a simple idea. Our brain has a brutal tendency to see intention where there is none. It's a survival mechanism. If you hear a rustle in the grass, it's better to think it's a tiger, an agent with intent, and not the wind. The one who thought it was the wind was sometimes eaten. We descend from the paranoid. That same error that saves us from tigers makes us look at the sky and see a god's intention in a storm. Now let's talk about moral rules. There's an invisible rule that governs almost everything in society, reciprocal altruism. It's basically the you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours rule. It works in small groups where everyone knows each other. But in a city of thousands, it's easy to cheat. This is where the moralistic great gods come into play. An all-seeing God is the ultimate police. It's like installing a security camera in everyone's consciousness. You don't cheat not because you'll get caught, but because the universe itself is watching you. This allowed groups of strangers to trust each other and build civilizations. And what about the comfort they give us? Here comes a factory error of our brain called confirmation bias. It's very simple. Your brain isn't an objective scientist. It's more like a lawyer defending a client they already know is innocent. It only seeks evidence that confirms what it already believes. If you believe a God protects you and you find parking on a crazy day, you'll say, it's a sign, but you'll ignore the 50 times you didn't find any. This bias creates a feedback loop that makes faith feel constantly validated by everyday life. Let's talk about the history of the afterlife. The idea was truly formalized with the invention of agriculture. When we stopped being nomads and settled down, land became super important, and with land, ancestors. Ancestor worship became a celestial deed of ownership. This land is ours because the spirit of our great-great-grandfather protects it from the afterlife. The dead ceased to be just memories and dreams and became powerful guardians and the basis of a lineage's identity. If you notice, all these hidden mechanisms we've seen are not flaws. In fact, they solve a fundamental human problem, the problem of large-scale cooperation. How do you get thousands of selfish individuals to work together for a common good? You put them on the same team, give them an invisible and almighty captain, and convince them that the game is eternal. It's evolution's solution to social chaos. And the last cog in this level, which changes everything, is rituals. Why are religions full of strange, painful, or time-consuming rituals? They're not just for show. They're what's called a costly signal. It's like a peacock's tail. It's so big and heavy that it's a hindrance. But precisely because of that, it tells females, look how healthy and strong I am that I can afford this luxury. A painful ritual or a prolonged fast tells the group, look how committed I am that I'm able to pay this price. You can trust me. Rituals are not beliefs. They are living proof of commitment, and that creates brutal trust among people. And with that, we close level 2. We no longer see just ideas, we see the gears, our brain's survival paranoia, the need for a cosmic police, the self-confirming bias, and rituals as proof of loyalty. Understanding these mechanisms is not to destroy faith, but to understand ourselves better. It gives us power over our own impulses. But if you thought we had everything clear, get ready, because this is where the story turns into true chaos. Hold on, we're descending to level 3. Welcome to the disorder of reality. First major controversy, what came first, the chicken or the egg? That is, did religion with great gods allow great civilizations to be born? Or did great civilizations, once formed, need to invent great gods so as not to collapse? One side says, we needed to believe in a just God to be able to trust strangers and build a city. The other side responds, no, we first built chaotic cities and then invented those gods to bring order. The debate is raging. Now, a secret. Let me debunk a myth you've surely heard 1,000 times. Religion is the cause of most wars. Well, not exactly. It's a convenient lie. The truth is that most wars are fought for the usual reasons: land, power, resources. Religion is not usually the cause, but the best tool of justification. It's the perfect flag to unite your people and dehumanize the enemy. Why do we love to believe that myth? Because it's a simple and emotional answer to a complex problem. And our brain loves simple answers. And here comes a mind-bending paradox. How can the same religion inspire one person to build a hospital for the poor and another to crash a plane into a building? It's not that one is good and the other bad. It's that religion is an incredibly powerful amplifier of our tribal us versus them psychology. For those inside the group, it inspires incredible love and sacrifice. But for those outside, it can inspire equally extreme hatred and violence. It's the same coin with two terribly opposite sides. And this leads us to an uncomfortable ethical question. Let's think about that promise of paradise after death, something most people accept without question. Is this truly good? Or does the belief in a celestial reward devalue our one life here and now? If the best is yet to come, doesn't that give us an excuse to tolerate injustice, inequality, and suffering in this world? It forces you to ask yourself, is this really right? Even the way we debate this has changed. Think about atheism. For centuries, being an atheist was a dangerous secret, a death sentence. Then, in the Enlightenment, it became a philosophical stance for an elite. Today, with figures like the new atheists, it has become an active and sometimes militant critique of religion. The battle isn't over. It has simply changed fields and weapons. All of this connects us to a fundamental problem of the human condition that religion tried to solve, the need for meaning. Religion gives you a complete package. It tells you where you come from, what you have to do, and where you're going. It's a GPS for life. In an increasingly secular world, that GPS has been turned off. And each of us has the task, both liberating and terrifying, of building our own map and finding our own north. It's the great challenge of our era. Level 3 leaves us here, in the middle of a battlefield of ideas. Reality is messy, full of debates about cause and effect, moral paradoxes, and ethical questions without an easy or single answer. And that's okay. Life is complicated. All right, you've survived the chaos. You've shown that you're not content with easy answers. Now it's time to see the details that separate the curious from the true connoisseurs. Welcome to level 4. What I'm about to tell you now, you won't find with a quick Google search. Before organized gods like Zeus or Yahweh existed, there was shamanism. This is most likely the proto-religion, the original software of human spirituality. The shaman didn't worship a god in the sky. He traveled, often with the help of psychedelic plants or trances, to a spirit world to negotiate with them, to heal, to find game. Religion didn't start with worship, but with negotiation. Get ready for a powerful idea, neurotheology. It's the study of the neurological basis of religious experience. Some scientists propose that our brain might literally have a God-shaped hole. The analogy is this. Imagine your brain as a computer that comes from the factory with a transcendental USB port. You can connect anything to that port: the Christian God, Buddhist meditation, the immensity of nature, or even the excitement of a soccer match. But the existence of the port, that capacity to feel a deep and transcendent connection, is part of our neurological hardware. And now let me tell you the story of a secret hero, a man named Ibn Khaldun. He was a 14th century Arab scholar over 600 years ago. Long before the great European thinkers, he developed an incredible theory. He said that the primary function of religion was not theological but social. It created something he called asabiya, which could be translated as group solidarity or esprit de corps. For him, this asabiya, often driven by religion, was the engine that caused civilizations to be born, conquer, and ultimately collapse. A forgotten genius who saw religion as the glue of society. Now, a rebellious theory, one of those that blow your mind, Julian Jaynes's bicameral mind theory. It's crazy, but listen to it. Jaynes proposed that, until about 3,000 years ago, humans were not conscious as we are now. We didn't have an inner self that dialogued with itself. Instead, the right hemisphere of the brain generated voices that the left hemisphere interpreted as an auditory hallucination, the voice of a god, a dead king, or a chief. Literally, they heard their gods giving them orders. It's a highly debated theory, but it forces us to think about consciousness in a radically different way. And here's a scientific fact that clashes head-on with common sense. Some very interesting studies have found that in certain contexts, very religious people tend to be less generous with anonymous strangers, the out-group, than atheists. This contradicts the simple idea that religion makes you a good person. Why? Because, as we saw before, religious morality can greatly strengthen ties within your own group, but sometimes at the cost of drawing a thicker line with those who don't belong to it. Morality is not an on-off switch, it's a dial with many nuances. And now, the aha moment. Let's connect everything. Remember the costly rituals we talked about? Those that serve to prove loyalty to the group? Well, neuroscience has discovered something fascinating. These intense rituals, dancing all night, singing, fasting, trigger a massive release of neurochemicals like endorphins and dopamine in the brain. And what do these chemicals do? They generate feelings of euphoria, connection, and transcendence. In other words, the social ritual activates the neurological transcendental USB port we talked about earlier. The social mechanism and the brain mechanism are two sides of the same coin. Together, they make the experience of the divine feel overwhelmingly real. Boom! Closing level 4. As you can see, these details aren't just for geeks. Understanding shamanism as an origin, neurotheology, forgotten thinkers, and the real connection between a ritual and your brain's chemistry gives us a much richer, more authentic, and deeper worldview. We have reached the limit of what is known. We are at the edge of the map, where it says, "Here be dragons." Do you dare to look beyond, towards the last frontier? Welcome to level 5. First stop at the frontier of the unknown. What is the future of belief? One fascinating and terrifying possibility is that of AI gods. We could create artificial intelligence so advanced that its thought processes would be incomprehensible to us, just as ours would be to an ant. An AI that manages society, solves climate change, and guides us. Wouldn't we start to revere it? To consult it like an oracle? We could be on the threshold of creating for the first time a technological religion. And this leads us to the deepest question of all, one for which no one, neither science nor philosophy, has an answer. What is consciousness? All of this, our science, our art, our gods, is a product of the conscious mind. But we have not the faintest idea what it is, why it exists, or if it is anything more than a simple epiphenomenon of firing neurons. Is our need to believe a fundamental characteristic of consciousness itself, trying to understand itself? It is the ultimate mystery. Now, a philosophical idea that will leave you thinking for a week. What if God is not a being but a process? What if God is simply the name we've given to the undeniable tendency of the universe to self-organize into increasingly complex structures? From subatomic particles to stars, life, consciousness, and civilization. Perhaps we were not created by a God. Perhaps we are the universe becoming conscious of itself, and the word God is our clumsy attempt to name that amazing creative process of which we are a part. And this is key to our future as a species. Understanding the engine of belief is a matter of survival. The same psychological mechanisms that allowed us to build civilizations, group loyalty, sacred values, us versus them, are now fueling our worst crises: extreme nationalism, political fanaticism, climate change denial. If we could learn to hack our own minds and direct that incredible need to believe towards shared universal goals, like the survival of the planet, we could unlock a level of global cooperation that seems impossible today. And here's the last idea, the most provocative one. We've always wondered if we invented God. But what if the question is reversed? What if the idea of God invented us? Think of it as a meme, a mind virus that appeared at the dawn of humanity. This idea, that of a higher being, was so powerful in uniting groups and ensuring survival that it began to replicate and mutate. And in the process, natural selection favored brains and societies that were better hosts for this idea. In a sense, perhaps we are not the creators of God. Perhaps we are the vehicle that the idea of God built for itself to travel through time. Take a deep breath. The journey through the 5 levels is over. We've gone from the surface to the deepest abyss of speculation. Now, with this new and dizzying perspective, it's time to contemplate the full picture. Remember how we started? With that simple, familiar idea that we invented gods to explain thunder. It was a simple answer for a terrifying world. And look where we've ended up, contemplating the possibility that we are not the inventors, but the invention, that the idea of God is an evolutionary process that has shaped our biology, and that our future as a species depends on whether we learn to direct this ancient and powerful engine of belief. We've gone from a childish answer to a question that redefines what it means to be human. That, my friend, has been our journey. And now I ask you directly, of this entire journey through the 5 levels, what was the idea that impacted you the most? The one that made your brain flip? I want to sincerely thank you for dedicating your time and attention to this descent. It's the greatest gift you can give. Please share the idea that resonated with you in the comments. I'm dying to read what you think. And if you like these deep dives that leave you thinking for days, you know what to do. Subscribe, because we have many more mysteries to explore together. Until next time.